It's getting good, right? The Energy Bus by John Gordon. Chapter 31. Game Day. It was Friday. Game day. Less than 2 weeks ago, George had thought this day would be the end of his career at the NRG company. Now, he hoped it was a new beginning and a new opportunity that would allow him to share all the principles he had learned on the Energy Bus. He should have been tired, but he wasn't. His wife had given him a big kiss as he left the house, and he felt good knowing that no matter what happened at work, their marriage was back on track. The kids were responding very well to his love and positive reinforcement, and even the dog was enjoying being petted more. They might be poor if he lost his job, but at least they would all be together. He had been thrilled when his wife had asked him the other night what he had done with the grumpy old George, and he had given her a big hug when she said, "It feels like I'm meeting the man I fell in love with all over again. I don't know where you have been, but I'm sure glad you're back." I am back, he thought, as he sat on his usual bench waiting for Joy's bus, and I certainly don't ever want to go back to the places I've been. He couldn't imagine that happening, though. Joy had infected him with the positive energy bug, and he would do whatever it took to keep the energy flowing. George looked at his watch and noticed the bus was a little late. He was looking forward to seeing Joy, Jack, Marty, and the other passengers one last time. His car would be ready today after work, and if by chance he still had his job, he would drive from now on to save time and bus fare. He hadn't thought of it before, but it suddenly occurred to him that today would be his last day on the Energy Bus. As he thought about how much he would miss everyone, even Marty, Joy's bus arrived and stopped to pick him up one last time. When the doors opened, a man walked out, repeating to himself, but loud enough for others to overhear, "Too blessed to be stressed." The man turned around and shouted, "Thanks, Joy." "Don't forget, too blessed to be stressed," Joy shouted back. Another energy convert, George thought, as he smiled and walked on the bus, only to be greeted by loud applause from all the passengers. "We all know today's the day, George, and we just want you to know we're behind you and sending positive energy your way today," Joy said. George thanked her, Jack, and Marty for the letter, and he thanked all the Energy Bus passengers for their support over the past 2 weeks. He told them about the team's incredible day and night at work yesterday and how rule number 9 had made all the difference. "Thank you for being my energy team," he shouted to everyone. "So how you feeling today, sugar?" Joy asked in a motherly tone. "I'm feeling good. The team is ready. I'm ready. Nervous, of course, but who wouldn't be?" "That's right, George. Who wouldn't be nervous? It's a sign of fear. We all have fear, but the key to success is that you trust. Your trust is bigger than your fear. A little fear is good, but it is weak energy. It runs out. Trust is the high-octane fuel that will take your bus wherever it needs to go." "I like that," George said, knowing that trust was a theme that had kept coming up in his life. "It's like I was telling the gentleman who just got off the bus. All of us focus so much on what stresses us that we forget all the things we got to be thankful for. So when you head into that meeting today, don't be stressed. Instead, feel blessed. Be thankful you had this job all these years while so many are unemployed. Be thankful you have a supportive team and a family. Even be thankful that you can walk and talk. If you really started counting your blessings, you would realize that they are greater than the stars in the sky. When you feel blessed, you don't have time to be stressed. And this feeling of gratitude will fuel your performance today. It will lift you up and carry you over the finish line." George looked around the bus and noticed that everyone was intently listening to Joy, soaking up every word. They loved her as much as he did. He noticed an elderly gentleman sitting in the middle of the bus whom he hadn't seen before. The man was thin and wore a hat and glasses. He had one of those wrinkled faces you find in elderly people that could tell you about the places they have been and the things they have seen and the lives they have lived and the lessons they have learned, if you would only take the time to listen to them. The man had a sparkle in his eye that lit up when he made eye contact with George. George acknowledged him, and the man lifted his hat and nodded with a greeting in return. Yep, Joy thought as she watched the interaction in her rearview mirror, the right people certainly come on our bus at the right time, just when we need them. "I'd like you to meet Eddie," she said, directing George to the elderly gentleman. "Eddie and I met at a home where my father lives. Eddie's wife also had Alzheimer's, and we met at the facility. Unfortunately, Eddie's wife passed on, and he had a real rough time with it. But after a year of mourning, he's now living his life again, and I'd say he has more energy and is busier than most 20-year-olds I know. Tell him how old you are, Eddie. 88, he replied. That's right, George, 88. And he plays the piano daily, writes poetry, travels the country by train visiting relatives, and takes my bus when he's home to meet new people, go to new places, and do new things. Eddie has taught me the secret of life, and it is this. The goal in life is to live young, have fun, and arrive at your final destination as late as possible with a smile on your face. It is such a powerful lesson and has made such a difference in my life. I made it rule number 10. Show him, Danny. Rule number 10. Have fun and enjoy the ride. And you know what the final destination I'm talking about is, right, George? No one can escape it. We're all going there. But the important thing is how much we enjoy the ride until we get there. After all, we only have one life and one ride. This is not Disneyland. We only get one ride, so we might as well enjoy it to the max. Too many people think they are going to live forever. They spend their life accumulating wealth, possessions, and power, only to leave it all when their bus ride is over. It's not like you can take it with you. So what's all the fuss about? Well, too many people stress over too many meaningless things. People get all protective of their turf. Just watch the news. Even countries argue over borders. If people only woke up, they'd realize the whole universe is their home. Why fight over small pieces of territory when you can claim the universe as yours? Any moment they can have it all by simply enjoying the ride. But instead, people focus on the small instead of living large. They worry about promotions, deadlines, emails, and argue with coworkers and family members about the minutest things, forgetting that they will never see today again. Their bus is going through life, but they are blind to the beauty around them. Think about it. The day you die, you will still have 30 or 40 emails in your inbox that will not be answered. You'll never get it all done, so you might as well relax, take a deep breath, and enjoy the ride. Tell them about the study of 95-year-olds, Marty. Marty perked up. I love this study. They asked a bunch of 95-year-olds, I don't know where they found them all. Florida, I guess. But anyway, they asked them if they could do it all over again and live their life again, what would they do differently? The three things that almost all of them said were, number one, they would reflect more, enjoy more moments, more sunrises and sunsets, and more moments of joy. Number two, they would take more risks and chances. Life is too short not to go for it. Number three, they would have left a legacy, something that would live on after they die. So you see what I'm saying, George? Learn from Eddie here. Learn from the 95-year-olds. Don't go through life with regrets. Don't be someone who looks back and says, I should have done this or that. Live and work like you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. Act like a kid on Christmas morning that is always optimistic and excited about the gifts you are receiving. Don't be too stressed to feel blessed. Don't compare the success of your bus to other buses. Just enjoy your ride. You go into that presentation today and you step on that gas pedal. Have fun. Go for it. And when you blow them away and they sing your praises, you just continue to live and work each day with purpose and joy. And that's easy to remember because all you got to do is remember me, the ultimate joy. Then she looked up, laughed, and said, I know, God, sometimes I can get a little too big for my britches. Then, as the energy bus approached George's office building, she turned to George, who was quietly saving his voice for the presentation, and told him, and when it comes to legacies, remember this. The best legacy you could leave is not some building that is named after you or a piece of jewelry, but rather a world that has been impacted and touched by your presence, your joy, and your positive actions. The bus stopped, and before George could get off the bus, the passengers came forward to give him high fives, handshakes, and hugs. Jack handed George his business card and asked that George call him to let him know how the presentation had gone, since everyone on the bus would want to know. Of course, Joy gave him the biggest hug of all, and as George walked off the bus, she stood from the top of the stairs and said, Today's your day, George, and this is your life. You come on my bus for a reason, like I told you. That reason is today and every day after. George walked into the building thinking that this could be the last time he walked through these doors as an employee of the NRG company, or it could be his first day on the job as the Chief Energy Officer. In less than 2 hours, he would know his fate, but regardless of the outcome, he believed his bus was headed in the right direction, and he was ready to enjoy the rest of his ride. Chapter 32, The Presentation. The top executives were sitting around the conference table expecting a disaster. They had high hopes for George early on, but all they knew was that his performance was getting worse by the month, and today would be his last day. Today would be the final straw. The NRG 2000 was to be officially launched by the company in a month, and this presentation would determine if the product team was on track or in disarray, as usual. They would in all likelihood place a senior executive to work with the product team and replace George. The NRG 2000 was their next big product push that would take their revenue to an all-time high, and they certainly couldn't place the future of their company in him. George stood at the front of the room and looked into their eyes. He could see their negativity and doubt. He knew they were expecting him to crumble and fail. Why wouldn't they? He thought. His heart started to race, and he found himself not able to think. Fear was starting to overtake him. Not now, he thought. I can't allow them to bring me down. He remembered Joy telling him about that his positive energy must be greater than anyone's negativity. And in that one thought, he found a smiling face staring at him. He thought of Joy, took a deep breath, and an incredible calm came over him. There certainly would be more failures in his life, but not today. Today, he would not be allowed to fail. The executives were expecting a complete disaster, but George and his team delivered one of the best product launches ever seen. His bus was cruising, and the executives all jumped on for the ride. After the presentation, George and his team gave each other a group hug, and the executives all flocked to George with pleasantly surprised looks of shock on their faces, wanting to know how he had just done so great. I decided it was time that I stopped being just a manager and started being a Chief Energy Officer, he told them. They had no idea what he was talking about, but it didn't matter. George wasn't going anywhere except to meet with his team. He would have plenty of time to explain to the execs how to get on their energy bus and develop Chief Energy Officers, but for today, he would take it easy, give his team the day off, and let them know how much he appreciated all they had done. Today, they hit a home run in the bottom of the 9th inning with the bases loaded, and it was cause for celebration. But interestingly enough, when George told his team they could all go home and enjoy the day off, none of them wanted to leave. They all wanted to celebrate with the team and George. They wanted to savor the sweet smell of victory and soak up the energy of the moment together. George began to understand that a team who puts their heart and soul into a project and works toward a shared purpose wants to celebrate together. They had accomplished something amazing, and they deserved to bask in the light of a job well done. He couldn't deny them that. They were his team, and he loved them now more than ever. So instead of sending them home, George invited them all to lunch, where he treated them to an afternoon of food, fun, and unofficial team building. The team talked about their success today and their plans of continued success for the road ahead. They knew where their bus was going, and they were excited about being on it.